Imagine waking up 30 days from now and not recognizing yourself, not because something on the outside has changed, but because something within you has finally come into focus. Because for the first time, you looked straight into the face of what you've spent your whole life avoiding. That part of you you thought was weakness was actually your strength. That fear you've been running from, it might be the key to your freedom. And what if I told you? There's something inside you that's been influencing every decision, every reaction, every moment of hesitation. Something that whispers in the back of your mind. Don't even try. You're not good enough. It's not for you. That something has a name. The shadow. Carl Jung once said a phrase that can turn your world upside down. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you tried to change yourself? To break free from toxic patterns, to start fresh, to finally move forward. And yet, something always pulls you back, like an invisible hand holding you in place. A voice whispering, "You're not ready. You'll fail. Why even try?" That voice is real, and it's coming from your shadow. Jung described the shadow as the hidden part of ourselves, a collection of fears, shame, anger, suppressed desires, and past wounds that we've been taught to hide or ignore. But here's the paradox. What we suppress controls us far more than what we embrace. That's why it shows up in the smallest moments. When you overreact to criticism, when you suddenly feel not enough for no reason, when you fall into the same cycles you swore you left behind. This is not coincidence. This is your shadow operating behind the scenes. And here's the hard truth. It doesn't fade with time. The more you try to suppress it, the stronger it becomes. But what if I told you, you don't have to be afraid of it? You can face it, understand it, and turn it into your greatest ally. Imagine living without guilt constantly weighing you down, without fear sabotaging your progress, without that inner critic that questions your worth at every step. Imagine breaking free from patterns that have kept you stuck for years. That's the power of shadow work. The problem is, we've been trained since childhood to hide who we really are. Smile when we want to cry. Say yes when we mean no. Be strong when we feel like falling apart. We've built a mask to survive, but we've paid for it with our authenticity. And in hiding our shadow, we gave it more power than we ever realized. Jung believed that the path to transformation begins when we accept the challenge to explore the darkest corners of ourselves. Because it's there, right there in the places we fear the most, that our truest potential lies. So here's the challenge I offer you. For the next 30 days, take a small, consistent step toward meeting your shadow. But first, understand this. The shadow isn't just an abstract idea. It shows up every day. When you procrastinate on something important. When you feel jealousy you won't admit. When you let fear convince you that an opportunity isn't for you. This isn't a lack of discipline. This isn't bad luck. These are deeply rooted patterns operating from within. Patterns you never chose, but that still shape your life. Your mind is like an iceberg. 10% above water. What you think, what others see. But 90% lies below the surface. There live your beliefs, emotions, trauma, instincts, everything you've buried. That's where the shadow resides. Maybe you've been suppressing anger because you were taught it was wrong. Maybe you push down ambition because someone once said it was selfish. Maybe you hide your fears because showing them feels weak. But what's hidden doesn't disappear. It waits, and it shows up when it matters most. When you're just about to take a leap, when something good starts happening, that's when fear, doubt, and sabotage kick in. Let's take an example. Lucas always dreamed of starting his own business, but every time he's about to take action, he pulls back. He tells himself it's not the right time, that the market is tough. But the real reason? A deep fear of failure. Growing up, he was told that mistakes were shameful, that failing was not an option. So now, even as an adult, his shadow steps in to protect him by keeping him exactly where he is. And Lucas isn't alone. We all have stories like this, patterns that run in the background, shaping our reality without us realizing it. You can spot your shadow by watching your reactions. Anger over something small, jealousy towards someone you love, running away from good relationships out of fear, that constant exhaustion without explanation. All of it. The shadow talking to you. But you can talk back. And the first step is observation. When a strong emotion hits, don't run from it. Ask yourself, why am I reacting this way? What is this really about? Often, we project our shadow onto others. The arrogance you see in your colleague might reflect your own discomfort with self-expression. The anger you feel toward someone might be grief you've never processed. The next step is acceptance. Anger, fear, insecurity, sadness, these are parts of you. They don't define you, but ignoring them gives them more control. And finally, action. Once you become aware of the pattern, you can choose differently. Instead of running from discomfort, you can lean into it. Because that's exactly where your growth lives. Transformation doesn't start with motivation. It starts with truth. With looking in the mirror and saying, I am not just light. I am also darkness. And in that wholeness, I am free. Over the next few days, pay attention to the moments when you feel deeply triggered. Anger, fear, frustration, envy. Write them down. Investigate. Ask yourself, what's really behind this? You might be surprised at what you find. The shadow isn't your enemy. It's your teacher. Within it lie your strengths, your gifts, your energy. The more you fear it, the more you give away your power. But right now, you can take it back. What if every criticism was a lesson, not a failure? What if every fear was an invitation to grow? What if every emotion was a doorway to deeper understanding? True freedom begins when you stop hiding, when you stop running, when you embrace every part of who you are, your light and your shadow, your power and your vulnerability, your joy and your pain. If you've made it this far, then I know one thing for sure. You already have the courage. You already have the desire to grow. You're ready. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Begin now, with one small step, with one honest breath. And I promise, 30 days from now, you won't be someone else. You'll finally be you.